to the show. It started around like the 1 minute mark.
Okay.
Good morning, Philadelphia, and welcome to Bud Light Baseball Brunch, brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, powered by Green Legion Radio and 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler in Philadelphia, WDAS AM around the rest of the Delaware Valley, or simply download that iHeartRadio app and you can listen to us anywhere, crystal clear, worldwide. I'm Chris Sack of Green Legion Radio, and I'm broadcasting to you live from Maple Shade, New Jersey, while my counterpart and my co-host is in New York City. Murph, how are you doing this morning? And, are we ready to wrap up this regular season and move on to the postseason this week?
No, I've been ready since, I guess it was last Tuesday night at around midnight. And I was ready to wrap up this regular season and get ourselves to the postseason. Absolutely. The Phillies able to take care of business, give themselves a couple of days, right, to get things set. They've been able to do that over the last couple of days, and now here we sit with one game to play, and we know what the rotation is going to look like, at least for the first two games going forward on Tuesday and Wednesday, and let's hope the Phillies can make light work of their opponent going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we got plenty to talk about on today's show, not just with the Phillies and the state of the Phillies as we head into the postseason, which is nice because, as compared to last year, I mean, you were having, your health issues down the stretch, and I was doing shows with, the unhappy Gilmore and Luis Dominguez from down in Miami, our friends from, the New York Yankee fan base, as well as the Miami Marlin fan base. And the last show that we did in the regular season last year was Slash and myself, and the negativity that was coming across on that show. I mean, I normally need you to pump me up a little bit with certain things, but it's nice to have this show as we can sit here and, I don't want to say kick up our feet and kind of relax, because we know what the mission is. We know what the end game is for this team, what is going to satisfy and quench their thirst as well as our thirst this coming October into early November, hopefully. But it is nice knowing where you are in the standings, the catbird seat, and knowing that we have 3 games at minimum or at maximum here at Citizens Bank Park coming up this week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, last year, first time in a decade to get in the postseason, they clinched on the third to last day of the season, the final
Monday
series.
Night. Yep.
Yeah, and there was definitely some stress involved. You're going down to a Houston Astros team that obviously in retrospect goes off to win the World Series, but you needed to win one game out of that 3-game series, and the Phils were able to take care of business. This year, it really has been a foregone conclusion for about, a week and a half that the Phils were going to be in the postseason. And then it became, can they lock up that number 1 spot? And, they went out and took care of business, 6-1 on that last homestand, taking care of the Mets and the Pirates, doing exactly what they needed to do. And then, of course, you knew some of those other teams in the mix were going to have a loss here and there. The magic number went down pretty quickly. And then on Tuesday, popped the champagne because it was a celebration down there in South Philly. But you're right, Zach. They celebrated, but they know that is the first step in what they want to accomplish. It was one of their goals to get into the postseason, but it certainly wasn't their final goal and their most important goal, and that's to win the World Series. So now they, you can only get to the World Series if you get in the postseason. They took care of that. Now they look ahead to the wild card, and now they've got to take care of business playing at home, which is a great thing.
This first segment is brought to you by our good friends at State Farm. Here's the deal. When you combine State Farm home and auto insurance, you save an average of $889. State Farm agent Dave Bavuso is ready to help you combine home and auto in South Jersey and Pennsylvania. Call Dave today at 856-740-5012. That's 856-740-5012. 5012. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Average annual per household savings are based on a 2019 national survey by State Farm of new policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm. Individual premiums will vary by customer, all applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements. So, Murph, you alluded to it here, and then we had just briefly talked about, but the Phillies clinched their second playoff spot in a row here. Back-to-back years for the first time since the 5-year stretch. And when the Phillies make the playoffs, they seem to do it in bunches. Outside of a couple outliers, 1915, 1950, and 1993, the Phillies normally seem to pile them up and put them together, and in a good stretch, in a good fashion. And I don't think this is a stretch where we're going to expect this to dissipate anytime soon, not at least with this core. But they did it in dramatic fashion on Tuesday evening at the bank, on the heels of a Johan Rojas walk-off single in the bottom of the 10th against the Pirates. And listen, they didn't know it at the time that they had nailed down that final, or the top wild card spot, as the Braves had to come back from 6-0 down to beat the Cubs, and they were already doused in champagne and beer and all that good stuff in the clubhouse. I will say, though, from my standpoint, it was nice to see you on TV. By the way, me and Rach was like, "Oh, there's Murph." We were watching all the coverage, and they took the team photo and they started going off to the clubhouse. But I know what your focus was as far as like talking to the players and getting coverage for the radio and for your hits and all that stuff. But I'll tell you from my standpoint, sitting on the couch, as compared to last year, it looked a lot more subdued. Yes. Did they get after it? Did they party hard? Did they have a lot of fun? Yes, they did. And it's great because, guys like Garrett Stubbs, that the clubhouse guys, the glue guys, you see a lot of people talk about, maybe they need a better backup catcher moving forward to spell JT. But you can't really replace what a guy like a Garrett Stubbs does in the clubhouse. And what a lot of fun. And to see him hit a home run the next day, his first one of the season, was great stuff. But from my point of view, and we kind of just briefly alluded to it as well, is this team has been there. It's done that. I think you're going to see it a little bit more, come out as the postseason goes along. Their personalities are going to show a little bit more this year, as they did last year during that stretch. But I'll tell you what, just from seeing like Nick Castellanos, a guy that was just pretty chill, calm, cool, collected, off to the side, was rapping along with Brandon Marsh and all that stuff. But the team just seems like it has a different mindset to it heading into this October as compared to last year. Yes, enjoy it. Yes, soak it in. But we know what the main goal is at the end of the road here. And I have so much respect for that, seeing that maturity out of these players as we head into another run here in October.
Yeah, I don't think it's any different than the way the fan base is approaching it, right? We were all excited about the clinch, get into the postseason. Hey, that's great. This is awesome. We're happy you did it. But, we've got work to do. We're not satisfied quite yet. And that's exactly how the players feel. Last year, it was about getting into the postseason and then putting your cards on the table and seeing, how it panned out. It panned out pretty good. Obviously they go all the way to the World Series, but I think fans would have been satisfied last year if they had just made the postseason, or if they had just gotten past the Cardinals, or if they had just gotten past the Cardinals and the Braves, or if they, so it was, everything was a little bit of gravy. This year is different. And it was different back in April. Getting into the postseason was not the goal this year. Getting to the World Series again and hopefully winning it is the goal this year. And anything short of that, it's going to be disappointing. And so that's the way they're approaching it. It's great to celebrate when you get into the postseason. And those guys earned it, and they deserved it, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to be a part of, and they should do that, because 162 games is a long season. It's a grind. And when you reach one of your goals, you should celebrate. And that's what Rob Thompson said. We're going to celebrate, but we know we have a lot more work to be done. And now their focus is on the postseason. Now their focus is on how do we get further than we did last year. Exactly the way it should be. And, I, for one, really enjoyed sitting back and watching the guys celebrate their successes. There are a couple guys in that clubhouse that have never done that before. That's part of it, right? And then there's a couple of guys that have done it many, many, many times. But you know what? I talked to Kyle Schwarber about it. I've talked to other guys that have done it before about it. It never gets old. It doesn't get old for me. It's my second year in a row getting a chance to enjoy it. My broadcast partners got to enjoy it back in 07, 08, 09. It never gets old. It's a lot of fun, and I hope we're doing it year in and year out from here on out for a long time to come. But the next step is here. The next step is upon us, and that's the wild card coming up this week. So that should be fun as well.
I know a lot of people, picked up and realized, hey, the song is back. Dancing on My Own was blaring in the clubhouse. They had it blaring on the field. I think Bryce was yelling up to the PA guy to, hey, play it while they were down there taking the team picture. Hey, if Bryce Harper says it, you do it. But they brought that back, and I think the fan base, loves that, and we appreciate it. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. John Kruk was singing it earlier in the season. It was great. I love, Topper saying what he said, whenever he gets done his speech and he looks for JT, 13 more, Topper. I love that. Like, to me, like, I can't wait to see those videos every single time. And it always gets me. But the part that I will say that I learned, or I just listened to, and we've talked about this a ton on the show this year, Murph, how resilient this group is. And it doesn't fall on deaf ears when it comes to the manager, who is a baseball lifer, who's been around for so long, has been on so many, think about all those great Yankee teams that he was, a third base coach or a bench coach on. And for him to say that this team, now, I don't know if it's just a 2023 team or it's a collaboration of, what he's been able to take control of over the last year and a half, but to say that this team is the most resilient team that he's been around and how proud he is of them, that says a lot about the guys in that clubhouse, who carry the banner every single day for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah. Rob was asked just the other day, I think it was on Wednesday back in Philadelphia, if this was the best team he's been around. And he paused and he said, well, he's on a lot of really great Yankee teams. And the reporter pressed him and said, yeah, but is this the best team you've ever been a part of? And he goes, well, no, I don't know if it's the best team I've ever been a part of. It's one of the best teams I've ever been a part of, but it is the most resilient team that I've ever been a part of. And he made that distinction. He wasn't going to go as far as say, talent-wise, man for man, better than some of those Yankee teams that he was involved with, teams that won world championships.
Yeah.
But he did very clearly say, this team fights like no other team he's ever been around. And I think that makes him, as the manager of this team, very proud. And I think it should, because I think it's a reflection of him, his coaching staff, and the way this 26-man group looks at that manager and coaching staff and says, we are gonna fight for this guy. I truly believe that Rob Thompson and his coaching staff collectively is a huge part as to why this team is so resilient. Now, these players deserve a lot of credit because they have that never give up attitude, right? And there's a ton of talent on this team, so that helps. But ultimately, if you're playing for someone that you don't want to play for, I think that shows. And if you're on the flip side, if you're playing for someone that you do want to play for, I think that shows. And that's what we're seeing. And that's what we've seen over the last year and a half.
Now, I want your opinion here, because the Phillies had won 7 in a row, which is great. Stark contrast to last year, to last year's team and what they were doing down the stretch. Heading into the postseason. Yes, did they get there? Absolutely. And did they make a hell of a run? No doubt about it. But, we did leak some oil pretty much, those last couple of weeks, and we needed some help. But winning 7 in a row, that was halted on Thursday night. And how it was halted on Thursday night was by a check swing against Bryce Harper in the third inning, and the third base umpire, Angel Hernandez, everybody's favorite umpire, with the quick trigger on Bryce and throwing him out of the game. Now, I don't mind it because I don't want Bryce to get hurt between then and the postseason. I wanted him to stay hot heading into the postseason. But your thoughts, your opinions on the showman that is Angel Hernandez, because I did hear your colleagues speaking about him on air on Thursday night, and I kind of want your opinion on him.
Well. I think we all share pretty much the same opinion. It's hard to swallow someone who just time and time again seems to be on the wrong side of the right side of things. And that's Angel Hernandez. And for whatever reason, whether it's personal with him and players, whether he is just truly that bad at what he is paid to do? I'm not sure of the reason. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know anything more about Angel Hernandez than, what we all know, and that's that he's a major league umpire and not very good. But it's so frustrating for the players when they put the work in that they do. I mean, look, just take one game. Take Thursday's game. Bryce Harper was at the field at noon. He's in the cage at 1:30. He's getting treatment at 3. He's hitting batting practice at 3:30. He's getting more treatment at 5. He's getting ready for the game. And then he goes out and does exactly what he's supposed to do. And because someone is either poor at what they do or
have a massive ego.
Yeah, some kind of, again, I don't even know what it is. Honestly, it could be ego, I guess. But because of that, you end up not on base and you end up, back in the dugout with a strikeout. Look, Bryce Harper absolutely deserved to be thrown out of that game. He had to be thrown out of that game because of the way he reacted. But I thought his reaction was warranted based on and for Angel Hernandez to say to him, when you go back and look at the video, you'll know you're wrong. I mean, we knew first of all, I knew with my bare eyes that he didn't swing.
I was sitting in section 413, row 3, Murph. Yeah. Section 413, row 3. Yeah. And his back is to me. And I could tell.
I know. It was that obvious. But oftentimes I'll say on the air, no, he didn't swing. And then we'll look at the replay and be like, all right, maybe he did. It wasn't even one of those.
Yeah.
It wasn't even remotely close to that. And so Bryce doesn't look at a game on a Thursday night, 2 days after they've clinched the spot in the postseason. They can't move anywhere. They can't go up. They can't go down. He doesn't look at it like that. He looks at it like, I'm playing a game and I want to win. And I'm going to do everything I can and that's all that really matters to him. So when he snapped like that, to me, it shows you just how focused and locked in is, because it's easy for us, the rest of us, to be like, you know what, who cares? It doesn't matter. But for him, it matters. And that's why he got so upset. I hate talking about the umpires because umpires are bad on both sides. Some of them are good on both sides, but a lot of them are bad on both sides. And they generally tend to even out. And Angel was probably blew 3 or 4 calls for the Pirates too. But it's just frustrating. It shouldn't be like that.
Pretty cool moment for the kid behind the dugout, though. Get in the helmet, and then security coming to him and getting the helmet and bringing it to Bryce. I mean, that's a moment in time. Like I know the rest of us in the ballpark want to watch Bryce Harper play, but for a 10-year-old kid, I mean, that's a moment in time he's going to remember for the rest of his life. I mean, he's going to have that souvenir for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, all of us will probably remember it. I mean, it's one of those things when Bryce retires and sits down to do Phillies playback one last time, I hope. Maybe that's something like, remember that time when you threw your helmet in and
never saw that before. Saw that before.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Stocker was saying there was times when players would chuck their equipment into the stands, whether it be batting gloves or, whatever, but you just had to kind of toss them. Nowadays with the net, it takes some serious effort and Bryce was able to get it done. Thankfully it didn't hit anybody and hurt anybody, because that would have been unfortunate. But yeah, cool moment for the kid. Happy for the kid. If he wasn't already a Bryce Harper baseball fan for life, he probably is now, and that's always a good thing for the game. So Bryce gets it. He probably felt a little guilty about doing that, and probably wanted to make up for it a little bit by signing that helmet. And that's the way Bryce is. He gets it, and I think for so many reasons we're lucky to have Harper in a Phillies uniform, but that's one of them.
Absolutely. And real quick, before we do go to break in a couple minutes here, so Topper has set the rotation for this upcoming week. Obviously, we knew all along it was going to be Zach Wheeler in game 1.
Yep.
In game 2, we've got Aaron Nola. Game 3 is kind of to be determined, depending on if they're going to need to use Ranger Suarez in a bullpen spot between game 1 and 2, which if they do use him in games 1 or 2, that's going to leave that game 3 left in the hands, if necessary. It's going to be left in the hands of Taijuan Walker or Christopher Sanchez. You would assume. Who do you feel more comfortable with at this point? I know Taijuan Walker is the money guy. I know he's won, 15, 16 games this season. But if you're talking about pure comfort standpoint from a Phillies fan perspective, I would be hard pressed not to say on my end, I would rather see Christopher Sanchez take the ball in that spot in game 3 if it is necessary.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you if I had to pick between one or the other. Christopher Sanchez is pitching better right now than Taijuan Walker. So I think that's probably what I would say as well. Maybe hand the ball. But at the end of the day, it's going to be all about matchups. And if they believe a left-hander is better than a right-hander to start that game, then that's what they're going to do, and vice versa. They believe it's so right. But honestly, what you really have to hope is that it's Ranger Suarez if you need it, because that's your best option, and that's what they would like it to be. Quite frankly, they're hoping they don't even get to a game 3, right? That they're able to win the first 2 and move on.
Would be nice.
That would be nice. But if that's not the case, then they'll hand the ball to Ranger. If they get into a situation where they have to use Ranger in games 1 or 2, well, then things are probably not going as well as everybody would have hoped anyway. So, let's hope that Zach Wheeler goes out and does Zach Wheeler things, and then Aaron Nola goes out and pitches the way he has in his last couple of starts. Because if he does that, if those 2 guys do that, the Phillies can beat anybody, any day, at any time, and that's what they're hoping.
Hey, don't hang out alone in the man cave for baseball this season, for this postseason. Try hanging out at Cheerleaders with sexy entertainers, $4 domestic beers, Jameson specials, and awesome game day experiences all season long. That's right. Stop in before, during, or after the game, not only to see your favorite entertainers, but also your chance to have the best game day experience. Epic game day experiences are at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, where champions play. Cheerleaders is open daily from noon until 2 a.m. Coming up on the other side in our second segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Phillies as they march on to the postseason, and a former Phillies manager who, well, let's just say is no longer employed. Right here at 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. This is Baseball Brunch, brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club. We'll be right back after this.
Your boy. Marlins are down 3-0 right now.
I want to talk about that too, because man, that is an absolute what happened to them in Queens is one of the
it's a shame.
Biggest disasters.
Yeah.
And listen, we'll talk about it when we're recording, but I find it hard to believe. Okay, like I don't think they were going to do much in the postseason anyway. They have it. If they make the postseason, they're going to get the 6th spot. They're going to go to Milwaukee. They're going to have to face Burns, and
I mean, yeah, but you saw what happened last year. Anything can happen.
I know, but they're kind of like, they only have Yuli Perez. They don't have Sandy Alcantara. Their lineup is bottom 5 in offensive efficiency.
They don't have a rise right now either.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're fighting an uphill battle. But man, what the Mets did with that situation, complete and utter disaster. It's not.
And I know it's the Mets, and we hate the Mets, and that's all fine and good. That could happen to any organization. It happened to the Phillies 5 years ago. When we had blowtorches and helicopters out trying to dry out a field. But that said, it's. I look at it from the Marlins standpoint, and it's just a terrible shame that it played out that way, because not only did it affect the way they could set up their pitching, they had to blow through their bullpen for that second game of the doubleheader. It changes everything. And then, through no fault of anybody's, this what was it? Thursday night game, gets rained out in the 9th inning. That's nobody's fault. But now that screws them again, in that they have to come back and, if that game means something, try and win an inning. And that's really hard to do. But they're losing right now 3-0. Top of the 8th. I think if they lose,
they're only a half game up on the Cubs.
Yeah, I think if they lose, Arizona clinches a spot.
Regardless if Arizona wins tonight or not. Right.
Because their magic number is 1. So it's 1 versus the Cubs and the Marlins.
Right.
So then if they were to lose tomorrow, which our show's not going to air until Sunday, they might be out of it at that point anyway.
That's why I'm trying to dodge who they're.
I know, and that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah. So. All right, let's get back and let's talk about it on air.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm going to pick back up when it hits 25.
26.
Mine's 24-50 right now.
Mine's 25-50. That's weird.
Look at you.
I'm literally a minute ahead of you in the world.
You're Einstein. Welcome back. Second segment here on Sunday morning. Baseball Brunch, 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. And we are brought to you by Premier Window Cleaning, which is the leading window cleaning company in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. Family owned and operated with 30 years experience. They offer commercial and residential window cleaning, pressure washing, parking garage cleaning, graffiti removal, post-construction cleaning. Every employee is trained, certified, and goes through an extensive background check. At Premier Window Cleaning, your satisfaction level needs to be 100%, as no job is complete until you're happy. With clients like Chop Roberts to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, you cannot go wrong. For more information and a full list of their services, give them a call at 267-534-5198. That's 267-534-5198. Or go to their website, wehatedirtywindows.com. That's wehatedirtywindows.com. All right, so let's get some quick hits in here. We've got 15 minutes to talk more Phillies, and we do have some around the league stuff that we got to get to as well. Your thoughts on the closer role as the Phillies head into the postseason here? Jose Alvarado appears to have come back to form, which is where he was before his two separate stints on the injured list. While Craig Kimbrell, while the numbers don't really reflect it, if you look at it like wins-loss, ERA, his whip is up, but he's had some control issues, and let's just say he's been giving up the long ball a little bit more these last couple months. Who do you feel more comfortable with locking down the back end of that bullpen in the ninth inning? I know Craig Kimbrell has, a path to the Hall of Fame. I get that he leads the team in saves for the season. I get Topper says it's depending on the pocket of the lineup, but if you had to walk into this postseason right now and you're Rob Thompson, who are you going to say is going to close down the game when it comes to the to the ninth inning for the Phillies?
Well, I already know what Rob Thompson said, so why don't I just tell you that? Because it doesn't matter what I think.
Divulge your information.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said it publicly. I mean, it's going to be bullpen by committee. It's going to be closer by committee, much like it has been most of the season. There was a stretch of the year where Craig Kimbrell seemed to become the closer.
He had to be the guy, right? I mean, Alvarado and Sir Anthony being down.
Exactly. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be the guy that is best suited for the situation at that moment. So they very much, obviously left-hander, right-hander, that's a big part of it. Alvarado and Kimbrell can get out either side. Those guys are those kinds of guys. Alvy can get out right-handers as well as he can get out lefties, but he's especially good against a left-handed group of hitters. And the same can be said about Kimbrell. Kimbrell has definitely scuffled late in the season. He was so dominant in the middle of the season, right? I mean, he looked like he was back in, early Craig Kimbrell form. And we have to remember the Phillies did not go out to get Craig Kimbrell to be their closer. He worked his way back in that bullpen, started out in the 6th, 7th inning, ended up in the 9th, and did a terrific job in the middle of the year when they needed it the most. More recently, he's been a little bit less automatic, and certainly everybody has seen that. So Rob Thompson has said it. It's going to be this simple. I'm going to try and figure out matchups and try to put the baseball in the hands of the guys, my high leverage guys, who are Kimbrell, Alvarado, Soto, Hoffman at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and put the ball, Sir Anthony, I think as long as Sir Anthony can get locked back in, and I think he's been better of late, as long as they can get the ball in the hands of those 5 guys, whether it's the 7th, 8th, or the 9th inning, that part doesn't matter. They have a plan to get outs. And if they need 9 outs to get a win, they're going to deploy these guys how they think is the best to get those 9 outs. And the guy who's on the mound for the final out does not matter to them. It just doesn't. And so that's the way it's going to work. It's the way pretty much it's been all year, and that's the way they're going to do it in the postseason.
Is Kerkering going to make this postseason roster? Do you believe he'll be on the postseason roster? Because that guy has some nasty stuff, some of the nastiest stuff I've ever seen come out of a bullpen. The way he throws that slider and can just put 100 on the black is just absolutely insane. But does he deserve to be in there, and are they going to deploy that weapon?
Yeah, so if you're asking me if he's going to be on the roster, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you're asking me if he's going to be on the roster, I think he is. Nothing's written in stone at this point, but I don't think he's done anything in his, appearances so far in the big leagues that would give them pause to put him on. It really will be a question of who is not on. And that's the difficult decision, right? You ride your horses all year, and then you get to the point where you think maybe this guy is better suited. It will remain to be seen. Look, Kirk Rings never pitched. He never pitched in the big leagues until a week ago, and he's never pitched in the postseason. So you never know how a guy's going to react. That said, he seems to have a pretty good makeup. He seems to have a lot of confidence in himself, and he doesn't seem to think the moment is too big for him. And that's really what you're looking for if you're the front office for the Phillies, if you're the coaching staff. And I think they've seen enough from him in terms of stuff to know that he has the stuff. And I think they've started to see enough to know that he has the makeup as well, or to believe he has the makeup. So if you're asking me today, yeah, I think he's going to be on the postseason roster, but we won't know for a couple more days.
So this team makes the World Series again this year. They go back to the exact. I'm not saying you don't have to chime in with that. You already know where I'm at. No, but my whole thing, Murph, is Phillies get back to the World Series. You're looking in your crystal ball right now. Do you believe Rhys Hoskins is going to be on the World Series roster if and when the Phillies do get to that point? Because I know you have more information, more intel. I kind of heard some of the details. I saw he put one out on Ashburn Alley the other day. So, I mean, you're around the team. You see what he's doing, as far as his rehab program and what he's got going on. What's your thought on this? I mean, I know we've been talking about this since the injury happened, and we all said, hey, Schwarber did it the first week of April in 2016, and he was back for game 1 of the World Series. He's not going to play first base. He would be DH or a pinch hitter, but that's a valuable weapon to come off your bench if you need a big hit late in the game. I would find it hard to not have him on the roster.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. If you're asking me what I want to happen, I want Rhys Hoskins on that roster, right? I mean, not only because it would be such a great story, but because Rhys is such a great guy. And I've gotten to know him over the years. He's one of my favorite guys I've ever covered, and that's not going to change. So I definitely want him on the World Series roster. Whether he will be or not, gosh, I don't know, because you're asking an awful lot of a team and a guy to, having not played the entire season. Baseball's a hard sport. It's about timing. It's about building up. It's a reason why you have spring training. There's a reason why, April is so tough for some guys sometimes, right? And then they get locked in. But in a 7-game series, you need your guys to be locked in. You need to be ready to go. And, Rhys is going to have to convince them that, having not faced any live pitching in a game situation, he'll face live pitching, but not in a game situation, that he's up for the task. If anyone can do it, I believe Rhys can do it. Kyle Schwarber did it, right? With the Cubs, he did it. It's almost an exact same scenario, and he had success in the World Series. So there's precedent there, which is awesome. But again, for every guy you add onto the roster, someone has to come off.
Yep.
And so who do you take off to bring in Rhys in hopes that he can deliver what he can deliver? It's an incredibly difficult situation because everybody loves Rhys and everybody wants to see him there. So I hope he's there, and I hope that it works out exactly the way we all hope it works out. But to predict whether or not he'll be there, I talked to him just the other day at length, and the question was, how much do you want it? He goes, oh man, I want it. And he said, and I will be unbelievably disappointed if I'm not back, if we're in the World Series. But I would also understand if there's pause to put me on. I would get it. He said, all I can do is everything I can do to get back. And that's what he's doing right now. And, like I said, I think we all want him back. I think fans want him back. I think the organization would love to see him back. But it has to make sense. It has to be the best thing for the team to win the World Series. That's the bottom line.
Let's do some around the league talk here real quick, because there's a couple things that, are around Phillies baseball or have to do with former aspects of Phillies baseball. Number one, the other day, San Francisco Giants fired Gabe Kapler after 4 seasons with the team. Surprising that they did it with a few games left to go in the season. He did win National League Manager of the Year in 2021, 107 games he won that year. The only team outside the Dodgers to win the American League West over the last 11. It's crazy to think about. And here we are a couple years later, and Gabe is out the door. I've taken my shots at Gabe Kapler, and I retracted a little bit after 2021. But here we are. He's jobless yet again. And, maybe there's another franchise that will give him another chance. But I know you've talked at length about, your respect for Gabe and how you feel about Gabe. What's your thought on this? Because I have my thought regarding it. I want to hear yours first. Why are they firing Gabe Kapler after 4 years with 1 year left to go on his contract, and they're doing it with 3 days left to go in the season?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that because I'm not in that organization. I'm not privy to the day-to-days of how his players are with him, how he is, how Gabe is with the front office, how the front office, feels about Gabe, whether the front office thinks there's another candidate out there that they're afraid they're going to miss out on if they don't pull the trigger this year. So, so much goes into the firing of a manager in baseball. Here's what we know. Every manager virtually gets fired at some point, and they just thought it was time for them to make a move with Gabe. I have always had a respect for Gabe Kapler, not as much because I think he's a great baseball manager, and he might very well be a great baseball manager, but I've always respected him because I think he treats people well, and I think he genuinely cares about the work, and he put in a hard day of work every time he was with the Phillies, and I think he treated people with respect, and I think he cared about his team and he cared about his players. So for that reason, I've always kind of respected Gabe. But again, do I like his style of managing compared to Rob's? Absolutely not. I would take Rob every day of the week. I'd take Brian Snicker. I would take Greg Counsell. I would take other guys that I believe would do it more like the way I would do it. And that's kind of what we do as human beings, right? We kind of align with the folks that align with us. Gabe had his own way, and it was his way, and there was no arguing that. And he lives and dies by his beliefs in how to run a team and how to manage a team. And that's his right, because he was the manager. I disagreed with him on many occasions about things that he said or did. But again, that's Gabe, and Gabe would do it, but he would stand by it and believe 100% that what he was doing was best for the team. So, who am I to say that my way would have been better? I don't know. So look, managers are going to get fired, and Gabe's getting fired, and that's just the way it works.
I think Murph, I think this has everything to do with Ohtani. I think they're trying to get a jump ahead. They're trying to get a guy in there that they have ties to Ohtani, because I'm telling you right now, they've struck out. Me and my dad were talking about this earlier. They've struck out in pretty much every major free agent that they've tried signing for a long time there in San Francisco. Maybe you could say Barry Zito was like one of the last great free agent signings that they had, and he flopped there. But since Barry Bonds went there, which they had the ties with his dad and Willie Mays, who was his godfather, they really haven't. They struck out on Harper. I don't remember them going after Machado, but they were a finalist on Harper. They struck out this past offseason on Aaron Judge and Carlos Correa with his health issues. And now they're staring down the fact that Ohtani might be jumping across Los Angeles to go to the Dodgers. They don't need that. They need to sell tickets. They need star power there. They need a guy to come in there and reset the franchise and make it what it once was. I'm telling you, I really think that Ohtani wouldn't have bought in to the Gabe Kapler hype. I think they're going to go.
Why do you say that though?
I just, the way I look at, you were just saying this, like the way he manages a game, his ideals, his views, going into next season, you would have to extend Gabe Kapler. Again, it's like with the Phillies, it was a 3-year deal. You would have to extend Gabe Kapler. Did he earn it after 2 years? Did he earn it, an extension? I don't think he earned an extension with the Phillies. So they made the move where they fired him and with 1 year left in his deal. Or it's the same thing with this 2024 is the final year of his deal. Do you extend him beyond that? You do get Ohtani, and then it doesn't work. It flops in year one, then you're stuck with 2 more years left on the deal.
You're not, because you could fire him then. If you wanted to.
But you could fire him, but you still have to pay him those 2 years. You fire him, it's not like it's cause. You're firing him, and you're still paying him after those years.
Of course, you're still paying him, but that doesn't matter. If you're paying Shohei Ohtani $600 million, you think you can't pay the manager an extra $2? I mean, you can't.
I think they're looking ahead, getting a guy in there. Yeah, getting a guy in there. That's my thought on the process.
But all I'm saying is, what makes you think that Shohei Ohtani would not want to play for a guy like Gabe Kapler? I don't know that.
I don't know that either.
There are a lot of players that love Gabe.
But
so maybe Shohei would be one of those guys. But unless Shohei Ohtani has already said to them, if Gabe's there, I'm not coming, which I find hard to believe.
Maybe they have a better idea of what Ohtani and his people want.
It's possible. Look,
could be the case.
You may be right. Yeah, could be the exact reason. I just don't have any basis of fact on that to know whether or not.
But hey, that's why we're a sports talk radio show.
Yeah, I like facts.
You're more facts, I'm more opinions, but it's okay. It works. We're like lamb and tuna fish. You prefer spaghetti and meatball?
Yeah, because lamb and tuna fish sounds awful.
Come on, Big Daddy. They go together like lamb and tuna fish. And you don't understand the analogy? It's like, no. He's like, maybe you prefer spaghetti and meatball?
Okay, right over my head, but that's fine. All right,
it's all good. Right. If it was Goodfellas or Godfather,
I would. For the record, I do prefer spaghetti and meatballs. Yeah, just for the record.
Me too. I don't prefer lamb and tuna fish with anything. Oof. As we head off the break here, make sure you guys go to greenlegion.com because the Green Legion is here to tell you it's time to make your reservations for another amazing Eagle season. Go to greenlegion.com and get signed up for LA, Kansas City, Dallas, and Seattle, or get signed up for the day trip games for the Jets, the Giants, or the Commodes. Make sure you check out the Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club bus for those day trips as well as London and Baltimore for the Fightin' Phils next June of 2024. Get signed up for those trips as well. Go to greenlegion.com or call 215-666-5940. That's 215-666-5940. 21 years and counting for the best Eagles road trips around. On the other side, we're going to update you on our picks standings. We're going to do some Can You Believe It? And we have to talk about the Marlins and the Mets and that disaster in Queens. 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. Baseball Brunch brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club. I'm Sack. He's Murph. We'll be right back after this. All right, so I'm going to try and cut this last segment down to about 7 to 8 minutes tops.
Okay.
Because we ran over him.
Not doing picks. Are we doing Can You Believe It?
Yeah. Okay. When we come back, we'll do Marlins Mets real quick.
Okay.
All right, so I want to talk about that. We'll do Marlins Mets. We'll update our pick standings. We'll do a little trash talk on that because you do have a 1.5 point lead still on me. Because you had the tie, you had a push, you get nothing.
I know I had a push.
You got nothing last week.
What did you have?
I had the Rangers beating the Mariners.
Oh, right, the one that we flip flop.
Yeah, we flip flop. You had the underdog. I had the favorite. And then we'll do our 2 Can You Believe It's each, and then we'll wrap her up and we'll take her out, put a bow on it.
Okie doke.
All right, we'll pick up 30 seconds.
Go ahead. I'll be back. Start.
Yeah, I got you. I got to do a read anyway.
Okay.
Welcome back here. Final segment on this Sunday morning here in the Delaware Valley as we are broadcasting from Maple Shade and New York City. And take a guess who has it better between the two. But we are brought to you by in this last segment here by the Ludlam Hotel in Sea Isle City. Yes, it's the fully renovated Ludlam Hotel at 4000 Landis Avenue in Sea Isle City. Yes, it's the old La Costa. Make sure you guys go check them out. The hotel is open year-round, so even though we're past Labor Day, it does not matter. All guests enjoy free Wi-Fi, one free parking spot per room, and complimentary beach tags, even though you're not going to get them right now for all registered adults, but you can get them next season in the 2024 season for sure. Walking distance to everything. Check out ludlamhotel.com. That's Ludlam, Ludlam, hotel.com, or call them at 609-263-7829. That's 609-263-7829 for all your reservation, dining, or entertainment questions. The Ludlam Hotel, your new oasis in Sea Isle City. All right, Murph, real quick before we do dive into the picks here. Marlins Mets disaster in Queens this week. Tuesday night, they get rained out. Last Saturday, they didn't put the tarp on the field when Ophelia came through until late Saturday afternoon. So when they went to take the tarp off on Tuesday to take care of the field, it was a mess. They couldn't get the field in playable conditions. So they had to take Braxton Garrett, who was the last starter, the last ace type starter that the Marlins had, because Alcantara is down and Yuri Perez is down. They have to start him on Tuesday and hopefully start him on Sunday at the end of the season to try and get into the postseason. Well, he has to pitch the first game of the doubleheader on Wednesday, which they lose. They have to expend their bullpen between two games. They win the nightcap. Then Thursday comes along. They take a 2-1 lead in torrential downpour in the top of the ninth. And then after the Mets scored in the bottom of the eighth, and then they're in a 3.5-hour rain delay. They suspend the game at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they push the rest of the game off until Monday at 1:10, if necessary. So they'll have to finish up the series in Pittsburgh, fly back to Queens, play a half inning or an inning or maybe a couple extra innings, who knows, just to find out if they're going to make the postseason or not. What a train wreck it is for them. And the funny part is the Mets grounds crew taking the picture, the team photo of the grounds crew in front of the Marlins dugout after they suspended the game. I mean, come on, man! Like, what an absolute joke this is. Yeah,
I didn't see that last part, but
look that up. It's pretty funny. It's a bunch of doofuses that are like, it's like, why are you taking this picture?
Here's the way I look at it this way, one way only, and that is it's a shame for the Marlins. Here's a team that has tried and battled all year long. No one gave these guys a sniff of a chance of making the postseason out of the National League East, and for a while there, they were, ahead of the Phillies for second place. I mean, the Braves obviously ran away with it, but the Marlins, to their credit, have fought all year long. They've battled through some really bad injuries. They've got some bad injuries right now. And here they are, coming into the last week of the season, and they still have a chance. And then all of that happens in New York. It's really unfortunate. It's a shame. I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at the grounds crew in New York, because that happens in every ballpark in America from time to time. It happened in Philadelphia a few years ago, and we've got some of the best in the business. It happens. It's unfortunate that it happened for the Marlins, because everything you just laid out has really affected them. But you know what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of thing. Maybe they're able to work a little magic and figure out a way to get into the postseason by the skin of their teeth. And if it takes playing on Monday an inning, and I think they're trailing in that game, right? If I'm not mistaken,
they're up 2-1.
They're up 2-1.
Yeah, okay, and they have runners on first and second with 2 outs, still in the top of the ninth.
Okay, all right. So they're if they need that game and they need to win it, then you go back to New York and you play the game. I mean, that's what you do. And for all the I've seen a lot on social media about why are you bothering playing? These games don't mean anything. Same with the Phillies rain out the other day. Why play 2 on? Because that's what you do. We play 162. That's the way it works. That's what we signed up for. That's what the players signed up for. That's what the coaches signed up for, and everybody else in the organization. That's what we do. That's what baseball's all about. So you play the games, and especially when they matter. And for the Marlins, it may matter. So there's a part, I don't want to see the Marlins. They scare me. But that said, there's a part of me that thinks it would be poetic justice to see them get in, even as that 6th seed. So we'll see what happens, but it's a shame regardless.
Murph and I are not going to be making our picks on air today. We're going to be handling this business off the air.
However, you're running scared?
I'm not running scared.
Oh, okay.
Listen, man, no, not at all. Not at all, because I made up a point last week. And I know I said all along this half point was either going to come back and bite me or it's going to come back and bite you. But you went 0-2-1 last week. You pushed on your over under a 7. The Marlins beat the Brewers 6-1. So you got nothing. 31, 34-1. You have 39.5 points. I went 1-2 again, but I made up some ground because the Rangers beat the Mariners. So now I'm at 31-35, and I have 38 points. So it's a game and a half. Murph and I will announce the results of our season-long picks on next week's show. Hopefully while we're prepping ourselves and getting ready for a Phillies Braves NLDS.
That would be great.
It would be awesome. So Murph, let's go. Can you believe it? Give me your first one for this week.
Oh, okay. Can you believe it? Let's go here. How about this? Baltimore Orioles really have been one of the great stories in all of baseball this year. This is from Sarah Lang's. They are the first team to go from 110 losses to 100 wins in just 3 seasons, in a 3-season span. They've made that turnaround. And honestly, I love it. For the players and for the fans, and that. I don't necessarily love it for the front office of that organization, because I think they have some issues up there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the front office, but
the owners,
a little higher up.
Yeah.
But that said, I do love it for the fans of Baltimore and for those players. Great story. Good luck to them in the postseason.
Just renewed a 30-year lease down there, Camden Yards, too. It's great to see that place jumping again. And I'm going to piggyback off you, though, because we lost Brooks Robinson during this past week. 16 Gold Gloves in a row. It's insane. This is courtesy of Bobby Trossett, which is Bobby Baltimore on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it is. Brooks Robinson holds the record for most games, 10, in which he drove in the only run in a 1-0 victory. On the day of his passing, the Orioles beat the Nationals 1-0.
Oh, that gave me chills. That's cool.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Good work. All right. Here's my second one. And this one I just found hard to believe. Okay, so Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Max Muncy all have over 100 RBIs this season. That's not so hard to believe, right? And that seems like something that, the Phillies are pretty much on the precipice of doing that this year. Seems like something the Dodgers would have done a lot. No. The last time the Dodgers did that, the guys that were involved, Roy Campanella, Gil Hodges, and Duke Snyder in 1955.
Wow.
That was the last time the Dodgers had 3 guys do that. That's amazing to me.
That's insane. All right, so Toronto Blue Jays, okay? Pitchers in franchise history with 9 games of at least 6 scoreless innings. Roger Clemens in 1997, Chris Bassett in 2023.
Wow. Good company.
Right? Yeah, definitely good company for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Murph, let's put a bow on this thing. Your thoughts heading into the wild card series next week? Are we getting ourselves ready for a Phillies Braves NLDS matchup? Because I'm down with that all day long.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. Yeah, I think we are. Now, you know me, I'm an optimist. I'm always going to lean towards the positivity of the situation. But I really think the Phillies. Yeah, I know. So you take my opinion with a grain of salt, is what I'm saying. But I do. I think the Phillies win the wild card. I don't know if they beat the Braves. Ask me next week. We'll talk about it. I'm not sure. I think they certainly can, but I do think they win the wild card, and I would not be shocked if they win it in 2 games. Honestly. So that's kind of how I feel right now. I feel pretty confident about it.
I will say this: I am quite happy knowing that the Braves pitching situation is in dire straits. Charlie Morton's on the IL, but Max Fried's just been on the IL. Spencer Strider has thrown a lot of innings this year in his second Major League Baseball season. Their bullpen has been a little bit leaky itself.
All right. Yeah. Look, Strider's going to be just fine. They probably win the game he pitches, but
probably
to your point, you got to win 3 of them. So it's a little different.
No doubt about it. All right, Murph, thank you as always for joining us here on Baseball Brunch, brought to you by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club on 102.5 Fox Sports The Gambler. And thank you to Kyle / the Gobbler, the Magic Man, Nunamaker, for setting us up on StreamYard. I'm Chris Sack at Green Legion Radio. And like a 3-1 pitch to Ryan Howard, we are out of here. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Let's go Phillies. Let's make next week something special as we head into another series with those hated Atlanta Braves.
All right.
All right,
We
we're
did it.
good, man. I didn't cut it quite as short as I wanted to, but hey, that last segment, but it works.
Yeah.
That's what they pay Jansen and
Slash will figure it out.
Slash all the big bucks for to slash it up.
Right.
So.
All right, cool.
I'm gonna go grab a beer. I'm thirsty.
Good. I'm going to continue to drink my wine because I'm continuing to be thirsty. So
enjoy yourself, partner. I will catch up. I'll try and catch up with you on Tuesday. I got tickets I'm on vacation this week. I have Eagles tickets Sunday. I have Phillies tickets Tuesday, and if necessary on Thursday. So
nice.
I'll be there. Yep. Looking forward to it, partner.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep. Anytime. See you, bye.